And just like that, we are live, my friend. I'm Chris. I'm the Longbox Punk. Welcome to another episode. This time with amazing indie comic creator, all around great dude. Super one that I've actually met in person at the Middletown Comic Expo. We got Mike Watson with Freestyle Komics hanging out for the next however long we talk. Mike, man, I appreciate you making time hanging out with me on this very surprise ending Tuesday in the last week of your campaign on Kickstarter. Lots of things going on for you right now, huh?
Yeah. A couple things in the oven going. Glad to be here.
Well, I know that we met just for background because I don't normally get to have this with most of my guests. So we met at the Middletown Comic Expo. Your publishing company, is that Freestyle
Yep.
Comics? Are they okay? Great, nailed that. Man, I'm on a roll. So Freestyle Comics was like one of the main sponsors in the Middletown Comic Expo. As your shirt shows, and as a lot of my posts show, your characters were featured in all of the branding and the merchandising. The giant banner that was hung over the entrance of the building, which was slick. They had the giant, like, life-size cardboard cutouts of your characters all around the display floor. Super. That's got to be awesome as a creator to just like be surrounded by your characters in real life, right?
Oh, absolutely. I can't even. This is one of the few times I can't even describe the feeling walking up to the convention and seeing our characters in life size banners over 10 feet tall and standees everywhere and all the branding and stuff that was done for it. So it was a bit overwhelming, but definitely good overwhelming feelings.
For sure, for sure. So we're gonna get into all sorts of awesome stuff, including the freestyle universe. But first, I know a smidgen, but like I want to hear your origin story. How'd you get into comics, and then how did you like start making your own comics? What led you here in 2024?
Oh wow! So the origin story is I've always wanted to draw comic books since the sixth grade. Had a best friend that was into them, and he got me into them as well. We started a comic book company in sixth grade with the help of our teacher. I've been wanting to do it ever since then, and started making my own characters in high school based off my friends. Went to college, Columbus College of Art and Design, where they were actually teaching students how to make comic books, and started making actual superhero comic book characters of outside of just myself and my friends, and met up with some people that were like-minded. Traveled to some comic book conventions and Marvel Comics. I tried to apply with them by showcasing my portfolio to them over a few years, and they told me no. They said my style was too urban, and like my mom said, you can only be in your feelings about something for 24 hours, and then after that, you got to make a plan to move on. So that was the plan, to make comic book characters, comics featuring characters that look like me, and and just tell awesome, epic, diverse stories.
Dude, I heard you say that line in one of your panels, and that like you only have 24 hours to sit in your feelings, and then you got to make a plan. And I was just like, damn, I've been sitting in my feelings for about some things way longer than 24 hours. Like that's the kick in the pants I need. So shout out to your mom, because I love that. So okay, so you were showcasing your portfolio with Marvel, and then just started doing your own thing. So did it start with did you start with the freestyle universe right off the bat?
Well, I had the character Hotshot that was in several stages of development, which was it was me, because I made me and my friends characters in high school, and then when I got to college, I was by myself, so I just focused on my character. It was at varying different levels, and I came up with the Hotshot character off of that, and meeting up with my brother Victor, who also attended the school. He was the shield to my sword as a writer. He really helped me shape things up. He's a fantastic writer, and he breathed a lot of life into these characters. And he wrote the script for the first scripts for the first six and a half issues, and then I did all the drawing for them, and We were kind of like a little dynamic duo in the indie comic scene, taking the hotshot books to a lot of conventions and events, and people were pretty surprised that we were doing like a mainstream superhero type style book, and it was in full color. And like the first three issues came out like when we said they were going to come out, and people didn't have to wait for them. And then life happens, and
Yeah.
hold ups, and and trying to survive through some things. But yeah, that was the start of it.
That's awesome. Do you still is your brother still involved with the books?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Well, he went off to do his own thing.
Okay.
With Enough Productions, You Create Comics, and I hear he's a pretty awesome moderator to boot too. But he came back. We talked and we planned, and he's back right now writing a 3-part story for us called The Zero Event.
Oh,
So
cool.
that read our books might know about that, have heard about it. We got part 1 out right now. He's writing part 2 and 3 of that, and we're going to just release that all out in the trade. It's a story. It's part of the bits that Victor added into the story himself. That a lot of people ask, well, what is this? What happened during this time or whatnot? And we're finally going back to investigate that and explore what the Zero Event is.
That's cool. It's got to be awesome. Like, if I were to ever do anything with my older sister creatively, I just can't imagine how rad that would be. To be able to do that like with your brother, and just I think that's awesome. So okay, so you've got the universe, you've got Hotshot. It's a fully fleshed out universe. You've got you got a huge roster, right? And like a
Yeah,
bunch of issues that are coming out all the time.
we're rocking 14 titles and 43 comic books. This will be our Vigilance will be our third trade that we have out right now. And we still have a couple more books to come out this year, to drop this year.
That's awesome. So you mentioned Vigilance. So you've got
Mhm.
volume 1 running on Kickstarter right now, which is linked
Yes.
in the episode description. Nice and handy for you. You mentioned before, I'm going to cheat because I also have it put up here. You are in the final, the final countdown, as Europe would say. It ends Friday morning,
It
right?
ends Friday morning. Yeah, I messed up because we launched early because we were trying to get 100 followers on the campaign at
Mm,
fskgo.com. And we got it. So we launched early, but that ended up readjusting my end time because normally I do it 9:30 p.m. on a Friday, and we're ending at
got it.
10:30. So I'm a little nervous now because that's normally I normally give it a whole Friday to
Yeah.
finish things off.
Now you're gonna be like trying to hustle at 3 in the morning on Friday. Like, anybody awake? You wanna
Yeah,
hey
yeah.
friends in Dublin, you wanna jump on the
Yeah, because we're at that point where we're close enough to taste it right now.
Yeah.
Not quite there yet, but we're close enough in range to knock this thing out.
So tell me, like, what can people expect if they were to check out the campaign, or if they just have money burning in their pockets and they're like, I want to back this book. How, like, what can they expect
Oh,
with Vigilance Volume 1?
well, Vigilance Volume 1 collects the Vigilance issues 1 through 4.
Okay.
And we have 2 editions. We have the regular edition and we have the collector's edition. We have 3 covers featured on this thing. So it's just kind of like pick whichever cover that really tickles your fancy. But Vigilance is the world's strongest superhero. She works for the government full time with no secret identity, but she has amnesia and she's starting to realize the government's lying to her about who
Mhm.
she really is. This story came in development for several reasons. Number one, I got tired of people saying you could not write a good Superman story. I think that is the weakest thing ever for people to say and about Superman. Because he's all powerful, you can't write stories for him. Well, Vigilance is all powerful. She's our Superman archetype, and the stories aren't about how powerful she is. The story is about her.
Mm.
So I really wanted to create a story that explores a character that has this kind of power and how they handle it and how they deal with it and how they move through life. Secondly, I wanted to create a character that features a woman of color that was powerful and strong, and her costume made sense. It actually looked like a costume, a uniform that was made for fighting supervillains and things like that. And putting a positive image of a dark skin woman of color on a cover was something I wanted to do. You know, honestly, for my mom, my sister, my wife, my kids. I have 3 daughters and things like that. So
Okay.
I like them to see themselves reflected in the work that I do, and just a woman that did not need to have help from a man to be able to save the world, which is why she's our strongest superhero. But she has other things that she needs to work on, like she doesn't know who she really is. So throughout this story, throughout her journey, you're going to develop as Vigilance develops. When she figures out what her alternate ego is going to be, her alternate personality, you're going to be there when she discovers that name. When she has ice cream for the first time and decides whether she likes it or not, you're gonna be there for all these moments as she begins to figure out who she is outside of the cape, because that's where the story is for us. And yes, there will be adventure. Yes, there will be action. She takes nukes to the face, and she's going to be fighting things from outer space and interdimensional portals, and there's going to be a huge crossover between all of our books, and Vigilance is going to be one of the main characters in that crossover. So, yeah, we got the action on top, but we really believe in relatable, grounded characters with the action sprinkled over it.
That's cool. Yeah, I know on the campaign page it lists that it's an action fantasy. So I was curious, like, what type of fantasy does that mean? Are we talking like centaurs and fairy fantasy? Are we talking like aliens and just like otherworldly nonsense fantasy? Like, what kind of fantasy are we talking?
Well, we're definitely talking about aliens and that type of fantasy and things like that for Vigilance right now. We kind of just have the book planned for about 12 or 14 issues. And
Okay.
as of that, that's where we're going to end the series, because our main book is the Hotshot book. So, like, the character Vigilance is still going to continue on in that world. But really, we think we only have like enough content for her story to be like 12 or 14 issues. we we like things that have a beginning, a middle, and an end. And we're using a lot of the stories for our characters to get them to a certain point for the story to be continued on in our main book. So you'll see the Hotshot series expand to be more than just a Hotshot comic book, as these characters are starting to interplay and come across in those things. But Vigilance she is an alien from a distant world that was, as what people have been telling her, what evidence is showing her is that she destroyed her home world. And she is going to have to pay for that. There is a reckoning coming. A storm is coming to put her on trial for her crimes against her world. And the crazy part of that is it is going to be her own brother who will be her judge, jury, and executioner. If it goes the wrong way. So she's going to be facing a lot of things that she can't remember that are going to be, a shock to her reality.
That's cool. Well, I mean, you definitely have my interest. Because I admittedly am one that I'm like, the most interesting story of Superman that I ever read was the death and return of Superman. Because for me, it was like, oh, you like humanized him. He's not just this all powerful, like, God that can do whatever. Like, you brought him to a level that I'm like, oh, everybody dies. Like, Superman can die too. Okay. All right. No, all right. And so, like, that's always been my favorite story. Which, telling it to non-comic book fans, they're like, your favorite story is the one where he dies. I'm like, well, yeah, but like, there's a lot to it. You know what I mean? But I do agree, and I like the approach of, like, yes, she is this incredibly powerful being, and also, like, does she like ice cream? Like, I think those very human elements and those grounded touches are what make really good comics. So I love that that's what you're focused on. Do you have the same? You mentioned that you've got like a very definite beginning, middle, end plan for her. Is it the same writer on like her whole series?
Right now we're on the third writer.
Okay.
Micah Cox wrote the first 2 issues. And Micah has written several sci-fi novels. He's a great writer. Then we had Alvin Ball come in for the third issue, which was very like a interpersonal issue with a lot of turmoil within her own character that we wanted to explore. Then with the fourth issue, now that we're opening up to more of her civilian life and what that transition could be in the Discovery Yard, we went with Stephanie Menard, and we're hoping that she stays on as the ongoing writer. I ever since she wrote the fourth issue, this is Stephanie's ship. She can steer it where she wants to. We have the plot. We've discussed the plot points. We know where Vigilance is supposed to end up by her final issue, and I just need Stephanie to get us there. So as long as Stephanie is enjoying the show, it is her ship. She's on it.
That's cool. Now, I admittedly, and this is purely just for my interest, I don't get to talk to many folks that run publishing companies that have other creators like working on characters and stories and books that are being released to the volume and extent that you do. So like, what is it like as you being like the person for Freestyle? What is it like then finding other writers and artists to work on these different series? Like how do you coordinate that stuff? How does that work?
I just throw a rock in a pond and hope I hit something.
Got it. Okay, perfect.
It's funny because that we don't have like a set rule or anything like that. We look at the stories that we have coming out or the characters that we're doing, or like I can actually give you a great example. Alyssa Centers is really incredible. She is she's a big comic book fan, and she has supported us on a lot of our Kickstarters, and she supported us on the Vigilance Kickstarter, one of our older campaigns for Vigilance. And she actually got the tier where we did a character commission of Vigilance and her character. And she sent us reference over. And when I got to it, because I was trying to figure out who was going to do the commission, and she sent me the reference. I'm looking at this. I'm like, what? This is dope. Where's your comic book at? Like, you have all these awesome pinups of this character, but you don't have a comic book? And she's like, yeah, no, I don't. I'm trying to get into it. Don't know where to start at. And then she sent over a YouTube video of an animation of her character, and I'm like, this is wild. this is wild. This is like, you're in, but you're not in. Let's get you in, man. Like, what do we need to do to get you to make a comic book? And she has put her trust in FSK and me, and we got our first. We'll say it's a preview in Cypher. It's like a 11 or 12 page preview of Taijutsu Gates, and her character premiering in there, and now. There's been a lot of good reception around that character and that preview, so we're just going to kick her out into her own solo book. So we're trying to put that together and find the right artist. The script has already been reworked for it or whatnot, but we're trying to find the right artist that can bring that book to life for us and keep it moving. But and that's how we met Alyssa. That's how she became part of the FSK family, and making these things happen with her. And like I sat with her a lot and talked with her about her character, where she wanted the character to go and how her character could fit in our world. Then once she was copacetic with it and cool, we started working like on her team. So with her being kind of not new to comics, but new to making comic books, I put her with some people that I trusted that I knew would be great for a first-time person going into comic book creating, which is Andy Cordy, who was at Middletown, and Jerry. She was also at Jerry Menard, who was at Middletown as well. Jerry as a writer, who I've worked with for several years, and had a lot of in-depth discussions about writing and bringing characters to life. And Andy just as a good kind of editor managerial type of deal, and he knows what it takes to make a comic book and put it together and run teams and things. So putting those two with her and setting up meetings and following up with them as they started to build a team to get that first issue out, which was really great to watch. And then bringing Stephanie on board to write Vigilance was more so of I reached a point in the story where I felt it needed to have a woman's voice as the writer. Men have wrote the first 3 issues. I mean, men have always written Vigilance up to this point. And I wanted to, with the stage where we're at with Vigilance, I knew that it needed to be a woman that spoke for her as we go through this transition, because Vigilance is going to be discovering a lot of things about herself. And so it's going to have to be someone that grew up as a woman, that knows all the little nuances of that I just would not know. Like I can research it all I want,
Yeah.
but I'm not going to have the same experience as someone that actually went through it. And that's what we want to have in the book as well. And I think we got Tony Clapper with 5 Star, who was also a Middletown. Tony, I met Tony at a comic book convention for the first time several years ago, and then he jumped on board with Short Fuse Media Group when we were both under that publishing label. Then once I decided to just do things on my own, Tony and I talked, and we were both Ohioans. We both live in Ohio, and it was like, yeah, we should, if you are willing to bring your character into the FSK fold, we'd like to have you on there. And that's when we started. Danny Cooper, who's our editor in chief, we sat with Tony, had a lot of time to sit and talk with him about how we can bring 5 Star into the FSK world, and how that would look and how that would fit moving forward. And honestly, it's one of the best narrative decisions that we made, because it's like 5 Star fit perfectly with everything that we've done. I don't really seek out a lot of people, and then like I do an internship with the Columbus College of Art and Design and also the Art Academy of Cincinnati every once in a while, and we get some really good students from there, and sometimes we bring them back to work after the internship and stuff. Okay. And then if I come across people at a comic book convention, it's kind of just like, I like people's energy if they're like hardworking and they're out there and things like that. Excuse me. No, we can see if we can make something happen.
That's cool. Yeah, I actually just found out this past weekend that Tony and I go to the same barber.
What?
Yeah. I was sitting and like way past due for a cut, and I've been seeing him since pre-COVID. So like once I find a good barber or haircutter or whatever, like I just stick with them, and I've convinced 3 of them to retire, apparently. And so I told him when I went back to him the second time, I was like, "Yo, you're not allowed to stop cutting hair, because I really like how you do my hair, and like this is gonna be a thing now." And so like he and I have gotten to know each other over the past 5-6 years. And so I sat down, and I was asking how it was, and he was like, "Should you go to the comic expo thing?" And I was like, yeah. I actually like ended up working it and like hosting the cosplay thing, whatever. And I met some cool people, and like one of the guys that was coordinating stuff with me, he like at the end of it was like, "Hey, I need to get you more involved for next year." And I was like, "You got my number? Like, let's go." And he was like, "Oh yeah. Well, did you meet Tony Clapper?" And I was like, "Yeah, that's the guy that I was texting with." And he was like, "Oh yeah, he sits in my chair too." And I was like, "No way." And then maybe like 20 minutes later, he came in with his son, and he was like, "Hey." Like, "Hey, Tony."
There you go.
It's a small world, man. Like it's so wild. The more that I like keep my antenna up for connections, and just like I'm an extrovert. I like talking to people. And so the more that I talk to people and the more that I find out about stuff, like I did an interview with a guy that lives in Australia, and we were just talking about books that he's worked on. He was like, "Yeah, like this guy, I did like his anthology, Starless Daydream." And I was like, "Hey, hang on, shut up. Starless like I owned that." And he was like, yeah. Page 42 is me. And I was like, "Shut your mouth." Like, how did you connect with a guy that lives in Louisiana that I have a copy of this book and you're in it? He was like, yeah. And I was like, it's just nuts to me. Like how big the world is, but then also like how small different communities are. And that's why I love the indie comics community, because even talking to people at that convention, it was like I talked to a guy and he was like, "Yeah, like I've done some stuff with FSK and I've got this thing." And after the fact, a guy, I was in a zombie movie years ago because one of the guys at my local comic shop, he and his buddy have like a film company. And so he was like, "Hey, you want to be a zombie?" And I was like, "I would love to be a zombie." So it's a zombie in their movie, and his partner was there at Middletown, and I was like, "Albert, what's up, dude?" And so I was talking to him, And then I just saw a Facebook post where he was like, yeah, I am now going to be contributing art to God, I forget the name of their company. I think it's like Iron Age or Iron Horse, but he was sitting right next to him. And he was like, yeah, they're super great. Like, you should talk to them. They're super nice, blah, blah, blah. And then, 48 hours later, he's like, yeah, I'm going to be doing art for those guys. And I was like, that's super rad. Like, that's he didn't know him beforehand. And then just talking to him, sitting next to him all day, like, made that connection. And now he's going to be working with them. And I was just like, man, there's just connections like that all over the place that once you start paying attention to it, they're everywhere. So I love that's my completely random tangent about how Tony and I go to the same barber in Middletown. 5-Star Studios, Miguel. Don't take my schedule every fourth Saturday, 9 a.m. That's me. So all right. So we're talking Vigilance, we're talking FSK universe. Are you still writing? Like, are you still in the trenches, as they say, creating comics? Or are you more like focused on logistics and coordinating everybody on the different titles that you've got?
Oh no, I'm absolutely in the trenches. There, like I said, there's a huge crossover that we're doing with all of our titles, or at least our 8 main titles or whatnot, and that's going to be called Zero Event Emergence. So I'm in everybody's hat. I'm in everybody's table. Trying to make sure everything aligns up to it as best as we can, leading up to Hotshot 24, which is going to be part 1. So Stephanie and I sit down, maybe after, like, we sat down a couple weeks ago and nailed out. She got issue 5 and 6 done of Vigilance for the script. So we're taking a pause right now so we can get the art caught up, and then, but like me and Stephanie talked, and we know, like, right up to issue 12 what's going on with Vigilance, and she'll be able to come back in and dive on that and sit with Danny, who's the other, like I said, the editor in chief, but he's also the writer of Heroes International. I'm writing Hotshot, and I finished my writer run on Emerald Quest. I'll be passing that over to Brian J. Lambert, who is a much stronger writer than I am when it comes to ensemble cast. And he already has the 5th script done. And then, I manage the interns as best as I can, and the stories that go into there. I oversee those stories, even though we have somebody else write them or whatnot. But, like, yeah, my hand is all the way in. I just finished Hotshot 13. I'm waiting for Danny J. Quick to finish the script for 15 so I can start drawing that. But, like, today I've built the Kickstarter for 5-Star for the new Hotshot trade, issue 13, and Emerald Quest number 4, and their trade. Constantly doing promoting for the Kickstarter, which again is at fskgo.com. Get over there, get over to make some pledges, or just share it to get it to more people. We got 84 hours left to hit our goal. But sitting with and trying to figure out how to promote the comic books, how to promote the brand. So yeah, my hand is kind of in all of it.
That's wild. Now, are you had to know that I was going to pull this out, right? I'm real curious, where does this guy appear? This is a super rad jacket that I completely that I won at your table at the Middletown Expo, and
yes.
It's got all the. I came home and I was like, babe, guess what? And she was like, what did you buy? I said, I didn't buy this. But yeah, this is just like the purple. And even as I was trying it on, I heard one of the other people that was standing there like, oh, that was made for him. And I'm like, damn right it is. So when does the Void, where does he come in?
The Void comes in at he's in Hotshot 1, he's in Hotshot 2, 3, 4, 5. He's in Hotshot.
So I need to catch up. 10. Got it.
Yeah, he's a reoccurring. He's someone that causes a lot of problems. He's even over in the Vigilance series as well.
Awesome. Well, I'm already in on that campaign, so I at least will get a flavor for him there. because yeah, I was just like that. I mean, the character design and the panels that make up the upper shoulders of that. I
Mhm.
noticed looking through this all ties in because I plan stuff. I have theories that tie everything together. So in the Vigilance Kickstarter campaign that ends in like 80 something hours, which by the way, the Kickstarter page says that it ends in 63 hours.
Yeah, I'm looking at the backer count. Yeah,
Got it.
63 hours is it's over.
Okay. 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 All right. 63 hours. We just lost 20 hours
You just
in
lost
like
20 hours.
19 minutes. Things are insane. Pets' heads are falling off. Um, but I noticed you've got a lot of really cool like add-ons and rewards that you can have that are more than just the book. You've got like
Yeah.
metal bookmarks. You've got like the all-over print T-shirts. You've got a Marvel homage T-shirt. You've got the jackets. Like, is that all? Is that stuff that you're coming up with? Is that stuff that like you just want to see with your characters? Like, where does that stuff come from? Like, where do those ideas for all of those things come from?
A bit of both. We have some people that work with us, and they, I just kind of let them free and clear on the merch that they design. But then I have very specific things that I want or that I'm looking for. Um, Lori Foster, who is the showrunner for Laguna Studios, she inks some of our excuse me, she inks some of our stuff. She's kind of our business person. When we have tough questions, we go ask her. She's very much in the trenches, more so than I am, and so her advice is always a good one to listen to. But she hit me to the metal bookmarks, and we've just people love them. We have them on our table. People pick them up. They draw people over. So metal bookmarks has been something that we just keep doing. It's a great merch that isn't too expensive for us to make. That we can get a lot of different versions of it made or whatnot. The flex shirts, those were uh, the flex shirt and jackets were my idea. Like I just made a video on how to make them. I believe one of our interns started it, and then we just kept it going. Like the idea of like I needed an all over print design or whatnot, and then we just kept those going. So every Kickstarter, we try to bring out a new flex jacket or a new flex shirt featuring a character. And then I love variant covers. We have the Ryan Robinson cover, which is our regular cover for the series. Ryan is a phenomenal artist. He does things with color that I just I can't see. I just don't see it the way that he does. And that's why you get a Ryan Robinson cover. And then we had the great D Fish, who is an amazing cartoonist, award-winning cartoonist, do the Vigilance Darkness cover for us, where it's like a shattered world. I talked to D about Vigilance and where she's going, and she just nailed this cover for us. And then we have our spicy cover, which is all covered up, but still a spicy cover that we got done by Devarek. Just Vigilance fighting against the darkness that's inside of her. And we try to have all of our covers be story covers to go along with what's going on in the narrative and things like that. But the Marvel homage shirt, I'm a huge Marvel boy. I love Marvel comics and the MCU, but that classic M Marvel thing that they had, we had to do a version of that ourselves, giving shout out to them, because I just love how that looked, and we made our own. So that was fun to kind of create and make. And then shoes. Who doesn't want comic book shoes featuring your character on them? And then like the posters and stuff. So we want to have more than one thing featuring our characters. Some people don't like comic books, but they like how our characters look, so they might buy a poster or they'll buy a jacket or a shirt. So we want to try to have all types of things for people to be able to get into for their fandom. Every geek's different.
That's right. And everybody has, I love that, like everybody has their thing and everything seems to be different. And it's just like, it's so true, because I've got, like you said, you love variants. I'm not a huge variant cover guy. For me, it's always just kind of been like maybe if it like really jumps out at me, I'll grab a variant. But for the most part, like I just grab the standard, because for me, that's the like, that must have been the first idea that they had for the cover as a creative team. So that's what I want to go with. But like, I love that your variants tell, like they're intentional with being stories in themselves. and not just like here's a cool pinup of like, look at this, and like, look at this thing too, that's cool. So I love that you're approaching. That's a new. I don't think I've ever heard of anybody else approaching variant covers like that. Because for me, and like part of it too is like I buy a ton of Kickstarters. Like I back a ton of Kickstarters, so I can't always like afford the people that. I think it was Valiant Comics were the first ones that I heard of as an adult doing variant covers where like I knew what that was. And I went to my local shop and I was like, man, I just want like Ryan #2. That's what I want. He was like, well, Valiant did they did 14 covers. And like, which cover do you want? I'm like, they did what? He was like, yeah, I've, if you want to see them, one of my customers like pulls all of them and buys all of them. And I was like, why do you need 14 copies of the same book if you're just like, that's the part for me that I'm like,
yeah,
you're only going to read one of them. Like, what do you do? And then they're going to go in a long box unless you just cover like all of your walls, like just no gaps, no space, just variant covers on a wall. Then I get, wanting to buy like but that's just never been my thing, which is fine.
well, I absolutely agree with you, and for us, like we want the variant covers to be as story driven as possible, but we're also trying to tap that artist's audience. So like, if you are a fan of that person's artwork, and then if that draws you over to us, and you're like, oh, what is this over here? Like, I really like Sean Hill, and Sean Hill does FSK covers. We when he gets the time, I love Sean Hill covers. If his audience comes over and they're like, oh, well, this is cool, I'll get this Sean Hill cover. But then, oh, but what else do they have? Like, these characters look cool. And, so we try to pull over different audiences as much as possible, because we're still trying to find our home. So we're trying to find our people.
Yep. Yeah. To see that, I that makes total sense. Like, now I understand, like, from a business decision, because thinking of it that way, like, there are books that I know that I've bought because that like an artist that I really like either did a backup story or like a cover, and I'm like, it's a cool cover. Like, I normally don't even read whatever, but like if the story's cool and they're working on it, then I guess it can't be that bad. So I'll pick it up, and then I end up like pulling the whole series, and so I've fallen for it. And so like thinking of it that way, it's just I guess for me, it's do I really need to buy like 4 copies of one book to get the 4 copies? That's the variant piece for me that I'm just like,
Thing for me. I'm only going to get them myself if it really, really like jumps out at me or something that I like, or it's my favorite artist. So I'm the same exact way, but people tend to like them on Kickstarter. So, we're trying to reach as many people as we possibly can. Well, it's trying to stay financially stable with them, because they can add up.
All right, you're back. Okay. I don't know if the whole stream froze or if that was just my view, but you definitely went. And I was like, come on.
It happens.
It's the beauty of live, right? So speaking of it happening, man, a killer transitions. You also do YouTube streaming stuff, right?
I'm trying. I got my hand in it, man. It's a different beast.
You're like, I'm not doing enough. What else can I do? YouTube? Yeah, I'll do that. So like, do you have like a show on YouTube that you do, or do you just do like video game streaming like I tuned in the other day for?
Oh yeah, well yeah, I have a show that I do called Chat and Draw. We are at 314 episodes. I interview creators while I draw them or their character on the show. We do that every Wednesday. And then, other times I'm just streaming when I'm doing different work or any games that I play throughout the day or whatnot. So, yeah.
That's wild. I mean, you're just always doing something. You got to stay. Have you always just been like a highly motivated, highly driven person to just like want to be doing all of these things all the time?
Yeah, it's my mother's fault. She always had me in something.
Okay.
She always had me in some program, some after school program, or after, community program or something. I was always doing stuff, and it's just been the way that I've been since then.
Great. See, for me, it's the ADHD. Like I literally can't sit still. So instead, I'm just like, yeah, I'll just do this thing, and then I'll just do that thing, and then before I know it, I have like 5 side hustles plus a regular full time job, plus the whole like being married and being a dad thing too. Like
Right.
it's just
It all adds up.
yeah, sure does. Sure does. So back to things that I had written down. I can't even read my writing. Good grief. So you mentioned at the expo when you've got a universe with all of these strong characters that all are living in the same world, they're going to interact with each other regularly. Which for me, like I grew up as an X-Men kid, as you might be able to tell by my wall, and I like the best X-Men stories are when they're all kind of like just clashing together. They happen to run into, somebody from another X team, or they have to band together and do the thing and take down whoever. Did the idea of that, like these characters that are living in the same world are going to interact with each other, did that happen because of books that you read, or did that happen because watching some of the standalone MCU movies and like just superhero movies in general, you were like, where are the other guys?
No, that definitely happened from comic books. And I guess it's weird to say I'm an old head, and it's really not old because old is Silver Age. Old is the Golden Age. I'm talking about what's up, Kyron? And I'm talking about the 90s when I read comic books and things like that. Absolutely, Executioner's Song,
Yeah.
The Age of Apocalypse, Onslaught, Marvel Heroes Returns, the Sentinel War. When I forgot what it was, when Bastion attacked the X-Men.
Yeah.
So yeah, I dug all those crossovers, and I have always I am Kyron. I am. And when I don't get my hair cut, I'm even older. But
hey, some of us wear the silver.
But yeah, so it's definitely something I've always wanted to do since I have read comic books, is have a big crossover. The crappy thing about it is that you've got to build it up. You got to build up these characters. You got to build up these arcs. You got to build up these personalities and these breadcrumbs and these events. That's why right now it's scheduled for Hotshot 24. So we just actually is it no, at the end of issue 13 we reveal for the first time ever who that villain is, that he is en route to cause this devastation, and this is going to be a planetary event. So we have those classifications. Thank you, anime and manga, for making me see things like that. But
yep.
So we have this one, which is a planetary event, which is going to reshape our planet. Moving forward, it's not going to be one of those lines where you say this changes everything and two things changes. No, this is going to change everything. It's literally going to change how many books we publish and how we publish our books. So the narrative of the story of this crossover is going to affect the world of these superheroes, these extras and things like that, but then also how we print and move comic books as well, moving forward. And then it's going to eventually bring us to our second event, which is more of a continent statewide event, to see how this new way of life, new way of being operates and functions. Then we go back to whatever is going to be the norm of this world, and we close this series of characters with a universal event to close out everything. So
okay, man, that's serious planning then, to know that those are the big beats that you've got coming.
Yeah, I'm a dork. I'm a geek. This is all I do.
I mean, that's also that's really good planning, because it feels like, when you say what TV show is great for the first 4 seasons and then it just kind of fell on its face, and everybody knows, like everybody has a different show that jumps to mind. And it feels like it's because going into it, they didn't have a planned, here's the beginning, here's what we're going to put them through, here's the end. or they did, and then they were like, wait, this is a huge cash cow, let's just keep going. Supernatural. And like, you know, it just, it just happens, which is totally fine. But like, I appreciate, there's something to be said about writing when it's just, it's known going into it, like, this is our plan. We don't need to broadcast like, hey, we're only ever going to publish a total of X number of whatever, but having that plan and then laying it all out in a way that makes sense and building up the characters and having them make sense for readers. I think it's like, it has to be done a specific way or else it just doesn't work.
Yeah.
And it sounds like you're doing it the right way. Are you writing, does every time that you introduce like 5-star or Vigilance, like when they were first introduced, was that were there tie-ins to the bigger universe to entice current readers, but then also be a good, like, hey, brand new character, come on over? And like, do you have those intentionally in your ongoing, like in Hot Shot? Like, are there times where you go, hey, we need to make this easy for somebody to, that's never encountered this character before, to pick up the book and for it to fully make sense?
Yeah. So there's so the problem with doing comic books and being like an indie and doing it since for over 20 years is that you learn a lot of stuff and then you don't have enough content to come out on a regular basis. So I admit there's jumps in the way our story is being told because we're learning to try to tell the story better, to have a better narrative and things like that. Like one of the things that I told our interns, because when the interns come in, I have them read Hot Shot 0 through whatever issue that they're on at the time, because that's going to be your story of Freestyle Komics. Freestyle Komics started with Hot Shot, and we're going to be here for the last issue of Hot Shot. Like, so if you want to know the beats and the production and the story and like how Freestyle Komics is operated, you read Hot Shot. All the other stories after Hot Shot have had the distinct pleasure of getting the spoils of Hot Shot, because what we've learned, good or bad, on Hot Shot, all the good immediately gets put into the other stories. And then 5-star was the absolute blessing of all of that. It got all the good. So we found a way, bless Danny Cooper's heart, found a way to fit 5-star in super easy. And make the narrative work and make the narrative function and stuff like that. Just recently I had and after I had the interns read it, I have them give me feedback on it, because I like to know what a newer generation thinks of these stories. And one of our interns really went in on us, and not in a bad way, but gave us a brutally honest critique. And it really made me say, like, see, this is why, I know we're heading in the right direction. Because one of the things that we failed at with Hot Shot is really establishing the supporting cast for Hot Shot. And when I'm writing Hot Shot, it is like I'm moving from moment to moment, and there's no time to breathe from those moments, because Hot Shot comes out like once, maybe twice a year. So to me, when they're waiting for a book that long, they want to see Hot Shot. They want the action. They want the adventure. And so that's one of the things that we immediately remedied in Vigilance, is that we are building up a supporting cast of other people to help fill in certain things for Vigilance and making them more, not predominant, but giving them more space to breathe and exist in there. 5-star already had a supporting cast in there, so then it was just finding a way of connecting those strings to the world of Freestyle Comics. And now, with our interns that we get every year, they get to be in these short stories. Cypher is our intern book. That's the book that we work on with our interns. So now the things where people misjudge or misconceive Carla, I get to tell these side stories now that are building up with Carla in the Cypher. Or, we get to see a different camera angle of the world of Freestyle Comics. Or now that, we're slowing things down. We're not really slowing down things with Hot Shot, but I'm knowing that I need to interject more characters in there, as far as a supporting cast or characters that help guide Hot Shot, without, beating your head over with a mallet or anything like that. My Hero Academia, Naruto, Bleach, all this stuff that I watch now in anime, the Uncanny Counter, the Extraordinary Attorney Woo, all these different things that I'm watching, all the MCU movies. Every time I watch something and I fall in love with it, it always brings me back to my books. How can I make somebody feel like this? And Zero of an Emergence is the it's the plateau I'm chasing right now. I want to have, and I'm sure other indies have done crossovers. I'm sure they have, but from the ones that I know, they've been one shots and they've been crossovers outside of their universe. This is a crossover in the Freestyle Comics universe. It is going to go from Hot Shot to Vigilance to 5-Star to Heroes International to Cypher to Spider Squirrel to Taijutsu Gates, back to Hot Shot to wrap it up in Hot Shot number 25, which is going to be our anniversary issue for that series. And it's super important to me that when we get to that, that people feel it, because we're killing characters. We're not announcing the death of characters. We're not going to be promoting like Human dies in this issue or be here when Iron Smith bites the nugget. No, we're just be here for the Zero event, because you may turn a page and a character you were feeling just dies, because this is going to be a planetary, this is going to be a planetary war that's happening, that's coming to the FSK universe. So, and there has to be casualties, man. There's got to be hurt. But then, there's these heroic moments. Like, I'm stuck right now because the book is Hot Shot's plotted out, but looking back at those plots, because it's changed over these years. Yeah. Looking back at them, I know some of the things I plotted don't work with where we're trying to get to, and I'm trying to figure out how to fit those things in. Like, there's a moment in the Zero event emergence that I know I have Hot Shot clearly saying it. I know it. It's going to be a double page spread, and it is Hot Shot jumping in, and I know what he says in this moment, and that is in issue 25 of Hot Shot. I am now on issue 15 because 14 is being drawn right now. I'm on issue 15 right now. And I know between 15 and 25, I have to have breadcrumbs in these issues that make page 12, double page spread of this Hot Shot spread make impact. I've got to build that foundation now in issue 15, 16, 17, 18 in these things. So, yeah.
That's long-term storytelling. Do you have a lot of those like scenes that come to you where you're like, all right, now how do I get there? Because I need that in my book. Absolutely. Or is it like is it all with Hot Shot because like he's your flagship, or is it just kind of like any random like any character will just pop in like, oh man, I could have such and such do such a thing? And
well, it's not just Hot Shot, it is other characters. Although with Heroes International, Danny has taken that shit from me. So he has like this vision where he needs the heroes to be, and I know what I want heroes to be because I know what Danny's taking them. So I know what their part is in the emergence. I know what Vigilance's part is in the emergence. And this stuff is me trying to create moments, but also me paying homage to the moments in my childhood that made me like get amped and get upset and cry and yell for joy and jump up. Like, so I want to make these things that make people feel the same way that I did. So I'm definitely paying homage to bigger moments and my fandom that I've loved and enjoyed, but also trying to create and orchestrate these moments. So like they're always coming to me and trying to figure out how do I get to that point. Like I know exactly what happens to Hot Shot. I know how the Hot Shot, what we're doing with him when it's finished, when it's all said and done. And now it's all like, how do I get to those moments?
That's awesome. I can't imagine having like that many characters in this massive event that you're building to, just like all of the ideas that have to be coming at you at all times. Like I can only imagine you'll be like streaming a video game or something like, oh, hang on, and just like cut the stream. Like I have to because I keep like a notebook in my like nightstand drawer thing because I'll wake up from a dream and I'm like, it's so visible to me that I'm like, I need to capture this because I can put it into something.
Mm-hmm.
And I lost so many because I just wasn't prepared. And so now it's either the notebook, or sometimes I'll come into my office here and I'll grab my phone and just like, I can't write fast enough. So voice to text, let's go. Keep up, Siri. And like, I'll
Yeah.
just.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
That's
I've
awesome.
had that happen in a couple meetings, and I love talking with other creatives. I really do. It's really helpful. And just even talking, I think this Sunday to my interns about what was going on, I had no idea how I was going to rectify or solve something creatively. And then right when I was talking to them, I figured it out. Like just being able to discuss or do that. Or I came up with a super villain while I was vacuuming upstairs, and I was vacuuming, and I was like, man, I wonder the doctor who pulled me out of my mom, what he would think of me right now. I'm just sitting here vacuuming and drawing comic books. I'm like, I wonder what he or she would think about what I've done with my life. Like, I pulled you out of your mother, and this is all you're doing. You're drawing little cartoon pictures and vacuuming your rug. And then it went to, well, wait. Well, what if this doctor, it wasn't just me, right? Like, what if it was this doctor was like actually was keeping files on the babies that he or she birthed, and was monitoring them. And then when they reached a certain point of his dissatisfaction, he would go to them in the middle of the night, and his power would be to reset them as a baby. And then he would give them to a different family to start them over. And um, wait, he couldn't do that because then there'd be a hospital. How was he keeping the record? Someone would find him out. I'm like, oh, no, he would have a private practice. He would have a private practice, and he would just be this great doctor who gives birth to these kids. And, he or she would, have all these files locked up, and it would be almost cult-like, but that would be his power. Then, like, he followed me because my mom gave birth to me while I was at his hospital, and he followed me, and he was disappointed with me because of what's going on with me and Carla. I'm about to get kicked out of school, and I'm always late. I'm always failing my friends, and he's coming to reset me, but little does he know the part that he missed is that I am a superhero. And so now this thing breaks out where I'm trying to save these rebabies. And I was like, all that came from me vacuuming.
That's wild. I love getting that kind of insight into like just how ideas can kind of formulate and come together. That's do that. Make that book, and because I would like, yes, there's so many ways that could go too. I feel like that's a whole separate, like, let's create a comic and like we'll just do a live stream. We'll just make a whole dang comic and put it out there and it'll be awesome. So speaking of like all the things that you're doing, you have a Patreon, you've got your YouTube show, you've got you're posting stuff all the time on Instagram. Like, where can people find you on the internet?
Oh, well, people can find me for the next 62 hours on fskgo.com. You can put messages on there, and you can pledge on there, and you can share and everything. So that would be the number one place to find me. Outside of that, you can find me on all social media as Most Epic Art, Most Epic, all across the branding. So like, I probably use TikTok and Instagram the most.
Okay.
Facebook, well, actually, Facebook is probably my biggest social media on there or whatnot. But then I would say Instagram and TikTok.
Cool. Well, I know for sure I've got the Instagram linked in the episode description. I've got the fskgo.com that should be linked there as well. If not, I'll make sure it's there when we're done. I'm pretty sure it's there. And then the Kickstarter link is there as well for Vigilance Volume 1. It feels like we're winding down, but we're not, my friend. I still have notes. So I know you're like, all right, cool. I can get up and go to the bathroom. No, we're not done. I need you to stay right there. See all these notes? I wrote stuff down, Mike.
No problem.
So, you mentioned in some of your bios on different social media sites that you came to eat burritos and make comics, and you're all out of burritos. And then I think it's on your Instagram that you said that you are a burrito lover. And just for funsies, what's your favorite? Like, what's your go-to burrito place? And when you go there, what burrito do you get?
Oh, my go-to burrito place is Chipotle, and I know probably everyone who really eats burritos or connoisseurs are probably like spitting in my grave right now. But I'm sorry. I absolutely love Chipotle. I can eat it every day. I will do without growing tired. When I go, the order goes like this: we go into the line and we ask for the white rice. We let them scoop it in there and put it down first, and just right before they slide. You don't let them get a full slide away. You say, "Can I have extra rice?" Because they try to play you when you say double scoop, or "Can I have more rice?" They just dig in a little deeper. It's not a
Yeah.
full scoop. So you want to get those 2 full scoops from them and get the rice on there. So once the rice goes down there, we pass the beans. I do not like beans at all. We go with the double meat. I am either a steak and well, wow, I can't remember the name of it. The beef, the other beef.
Barbacoa?
Barbacoa, yeah. I'm either
Yeah.
steak and barbacoa or steak and chicken. So it just depends on what I feel like that day. And then we get whatever meat that's gonna go on there, and we get a lot of sour cream. We get a little bit of the tomatoes, and then we get a lot of cheese on there, and we wrap that bad boy up, and we get it going.
All right. All right. I didn't expect the double meat. A life hack that I have discovered: you can ask for half and half of two different meats,
You can,
and it ends up being more than a single scoop of one of them, and you get two meats plus a little bit. It's like one and a half meats.
yeah,
So you
yeah.
get two different meats for the price of one, and they don't charge you anything extra.
This is
My
true.
problem is the one that is here by my house, they always are out of something. Like every time
Mm,
I've gone in, they're out of whatever. And I'm like, I can't get Chipotle if I don't have the fajitas. Like I
yeah,
gotta have, because I'm a double fajita person. I love peppers and onions too, but like peppers are just, and I gotta have them. And if they don't have them, it's not, it doesn't hit the craving. And then I got to go back the next day and get another one. And who has money for all that?
yeah.
So
They do get expensive.
my wife and I drive like 17 minutes across town to go to another Chipotle because they always have everything. But yeah, no, I okay, all right. Favorite burrito, got it. Okay. Um, see, you never. Oh, half my name. We got to talk about music. What music has like influenced you, and then when you're creating, do you listen to music as you're in the process of either writing or drawing or just story building or world building, anything like that?
I'm pretty open on music. My preference is hip hop. I real hip hop though, the people that say something, and actually rhyme words, and jazz, R&B. But I can listen like the Lord of the Rings soundtrack, the Spider Verse soundtrack. If there's epic music, I listen to it. Lo-fi, lo-fi or lo-fi, however the kids are saying it.
Yeah.
I turn that on and listen to that, or I'll go specifically like Naruto lo-fi or anime lo-fi. Um, so I listen to any and everything. I think the one thing that I cannot stand is country. It's just not for me. I've not found, although I'm not gonna lie, there was a couple bangers on that Beyonce country album. All right, there was a couple bangers on that, so I cannot. That woman's got some talent. All
Mm-hmm.
right. So, but I'm not a country music person, but I pretty much can listen to any and all type of music. And yeah, sometimes I do play music when I'm working. But I don't really have a preference. On my car ride, like I listen to Eminem because the new album came out. So like we drove from Texas, so I got to like really sit down. Obviously, it's a 24-hour drive, so I got to really sit down and listen to what M was saying on the new
Yeah.
album. Busta Rhymes, Missy Elliott are some of my favorite. Michael Jackson is my all-time favorite artist. He's the goat. I don't care what nobody says.
Hey,
He's
he's
the
called
goat.
the king for a reason.
Yeah, he does it for me. But yeah, so I'm pretty open on all the music. I normally like to have like movies or anime playing when I'm drawing. But lately I have not, just because I've been really kind of like zeroed in and focused on the work that we've been doing.
Yeah. I mean, like we've mentioned, 63 hours, fskgo.com. So, oh, there's a good question. Did you hear the Eminem LL Cool J song?
I have not heard it yet. I've been
Oh.
I can say I've been looking for it, but I did not look hard enough, because I'm pretty sure if I peeped in Spotify, it was on there. I looked on YouTube for a little bit and couldn't find it, and I gave up. So I just imagine it's gonna come across my desk eventually.
Yeah, well, especially now that we've talked about it, because your devices are hearing it.
Yeah.
So I stumbled upon it on, I think I was on Twitter, and somebody had just posted like, "How is this 2024? LL Cool J and Eminem are on the same song," and I was like, "What?" And I listened to it twice, because I was just like, "This is so good."
Hey,
It's so good. So find it when we're done here, because yes, it is. It's a worthy collaboration that you need to find.
that's what's up.
My sister got me into Eminem. I don't know why I just thought of that, but there it is. There's your fun fact for the evening. All right, so we talked. Let's see. I think we got all the things. fskgo.com for the Kickstarter for Vigilance Volume 1. I know for sure we mentioned that. We got to take a picture. How am I going to do this? So I like to set this up by saying I started doing taking a picture during interviews, because instead of me having to like hunt and peck and find a picture or a still frame where we're both not moving and blurred and actually smiling or blinking and all that stuff, I was like, you know what? I'm going to give every creator the opportunity to look the way that they want to look on the YouTube thumbnail, and I don't have to hunt and peck for like 20 minutes to find a thumbnail. So I'm going to figure out a way to hold this jacket and do my keyboard shortcut, and
Okay.
I'll count us down. So let me figure out how I'm going to make this work. Yes,
Oh,
there it is.
that works.
All right, now if I can do a keyboard shortcut, 3 buttons. All right, 3, 2, 1. I'll take a few. All right. All right. Okay. The last thing for you officially is, all right. So you weren't here earlier, Four Tails, but you're right. It does look great. It is great. It's a great. I'm just gonna show it off again, because I still kind of can't believe. Tell us, give us the abridged version of who this character is, Mike.
This is Void from Freestyle Komics. He is one of our main villains. He is an emissary of darkness, and he is out to extinguish the light that is within Hotshot.
Yeah, super rad. Won that at a raffle, and as other people that lost, the losers said, it was made for me, and it was, because it's purple. I had my purple shirt on. It's a whole vibe for me. So, all right. So there's that. The last thing is actually, it's easy for me because I stopped talking. And part of the reason that I love doing this show is because I get to talk to excellent indie comic creators, and everybody's got a very unique voice and a very unique story. And even though all of us have our own things and all of our own things are different, it's always fun for me to just hear from other people, just unscripted. Not that any of this is scripted other than my very poorly written notes. But so if you have anything that you've got on your heart, on your mind that you want people to hear, it could be about your books. It could be about FSK. It could be about Vigilance. It could be about why purple really is the best color. The content doesn't matter per se. It's just the chance for you to have some time to say whatever it is that you want people to hear from you. So the floor is yours, my friend.
Oh, well, there's so many things to talk about and say. I guess I will just I'll follow it up with my from my panel from Middletown. Hey, in case you did not know, Disney is a company that started because they wanted to do animation and wanted to make money. Making money being the most important part. They are a business. I really, really, really want y'all to know that the MCU is not woke. Half of you don't even understand how to properly use that word. Uh, Comics and movies and anime and all that stuff is for everybody, and everyone should be able to see a version of themselves within that medium. So as the Marvel Cinematic Universe comes back around, because it's coming back again with all their new content, I want you to understand that no, Wolverine and Deadpool did not save the MCU. Please understand that they have made $32 billion off of phase 1, 2, 3, and 4, whether you like it or not. That content is not for everybody. I watched a TikToker say, I watched Agatha and the show is trash. Let's get that out the way. The writing's great. The actors did their job. Story's phenomenal, but it's trash. It's not an MCU show for everyone. I want you to hear me when I say that's exactly what he said. Those were his exact words. And for him to be able to say that and not realize that Agatha all along was not for him is terrible. It is heartbreaking because he verbatim said the actors did their job, good acting, the writing was great, the story was really good. It just was trash. It's not for everyone. Exactly. It's for the Agatha fans. So when Avengers 5 and 6 come along and they show a trailer that may have Agatha in it, the Agatha fans come along with the Captain America fans and the Miss Marvel fans and the Captain Marvel fans and the Black Panther fans. When all those fans come together, that's more money than they made when Avengers was just all featured white people, because they want everyone's money, because green is the real color they care about. The faster you understand that, the better. I cannot believe this dude said that. It is infuriating because it's not for you. I watched Agatha. I enjoyed it. I thought it was cool. Is it really my cup of tea? No, but I'm a Marvel fan and I want to see how it connects to the bigger picture. But it ain't bad though. There's nothing wrong with it. It's entertaining. And I'll tell you this, The Penguin is way better. The Penguin is a way better show. It absolutely is. But that does not mean that that I can't find my fun and enjoyment with Agatha. And if I didn't like Agatha, which she's got one more episode, I enjoy it. But I give shows 3 episodes. After that, I'm done. I'm done. If you don't get me in 3, I'm out. I'm just saying, Miss Marvel may not be for everybody. It's not. Captain Marvel is not for everybody. Shame on y'all for not going to go see that movie, because that movie was amazing and everybody should have seen it. Doctor Strange isn't for everybody. Just move on. There's so much stuff out here. There's so much that we can watch, that we can go to, that we can just, like, my friends are trying to get me to watch Midnight Mass. I'm not gonna do it unless this Kickstarter hits go. But there's so much stuff. There's so much content, and some of y'all are gonna ruin it for us. Some of y'all are gonna ruin it. Acolyte was not for everybody. It was not for every single Star Wars fan. It was for people that look like that in Acolyte to see themselves as Jedi so they can watch it. It was for them. And y'all ruined it. You took that from somebody. Something you didn't even need. Something you didn't even have to deal with. You took that from somebody that hasn't had it. That is so selfish. So what? These Jedi and Sith don't look like you. So what? You thought the witches were terrible, or that. Then move on. Leave it alone. There were people that enjoyed it. Just find your thing. Go like it and go about your business, man. Plenty of it. I got 900 toys of 900 different things in here. Go find something you like.
I love that that's where you went, because I want to give you another quote from a notable author, Charles Soule. I watched my library did like a virtual interview with him because he had a new novel released back in March. but so he also did comics for those that don't recognize the name. He did 8 Billion Genies, and he did a really stellar run on Daredevil, among just like a plethora of stuff. And he was asked about like, why did you write? I forget the context. His novel is it has a very target demographic audience. And the interviewer was like, were you hesitant to write such a narrow targeting novel, because like doesn't that limit your audience? And he said something that has like fundamentally changed how I look at things. And he said, not everything is for everyone. And I was just like, I'm gonna need a minute, because it's so daggone true. And it
Yes.
like, I mean, to your point, like I watching Ms. Marvel, the show, I loved it.
Hmm.
And I'm not the demographic, but
Yeah. Yeah.
it was energetic, it was youthful, it was fun. The production with the animation of the chalk stuff in the background and all of the little like the visualizing sound effect things that they did in that were to entice the younger demographic that they were targeting. And
Hmm.
I know I'm not part of it, and I still like, I'm a nerd for how stuff, one of my things is like just media aesthetics and how
Hmm.
movies and shows and comics and like how things are crafted and built and put together. And so I can't turn it off. Like that's what my degree is in. And so like we'll go to movies, and at the wrong times I'm like, ah, because they just did a really cool like fluid movement show with the camera, whatever. And my wife is like, shut up. And I can't turn it off. And one of the things that I loved about Miss Marvel was the production of it. I loved the
Hmm.
Marvels movie. I thought that seeing the three of them together on film, like on the giant
Yeah.
screen, was awesome. It was so much fun. Like, how can you not smile when you watch those three just giving each other banter back and forth? And then you've got Kamala Khan that's just like, I can't believe I'm here. Like, how
Yeah.
her energy is so infectious. How I will never understand the like hate watching or hate reading. Like, I'm gonna read this whole 900-page tome just to completely tear it apart. Like, what are you doing? What? Who hurt you?
Who hurt? Right.
So
Who hurt you?
I love that, like, that was your stance, because the title of of your panel was "I Know How to Save the MCU," and I went there ready to defend the MCU, because I'm like, it doesn't need saving, it's just expanding. And like, if
Exactly.
you look at the comics, it's I think you said it at the second panel of like, you go to a comic shop and there's Iron Man and there's Thor and there's superheroes, but then there's also like true crime and there's horror and there's sci-fi and there's deep space and there's fantasy and there's all ages. And like, you pick up the books you want to read, and if you
Yeah.
don't want to, like, just move on from it. Don't make a YouTube video about every single book, like, look at this book and look at how stupid this is, I can't believe they did that with like, what? Just talk about what you like.
It's not a hard concept. I promise it's not.
It's really not. And that positivity, for just a very brief plug that I have to do, I don't have to do it, but like, I kind of do, like, because of the positivity that I try and inject into this universe. That's why I've been added to the creative bullpen at nerdinitiative.com. So make sure that you go there for all of your positive fandoms, because they cover everything. That's the plug. But so, all right, we did all the things. We've talked about so many things. fskgo.com. For the Vigilance Volume 1 Kickstarter. Both are linked in the episode description. So if you're watching or listening right now, or before Friday, what's the date Friday? I don't have my calendar in front of me.
Uh,
24, 5, 6, 27, 9/27 at 10:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, because we're
mhm.
Ohioans. You have that long. So make sure that you go and check out the Kickstarter. You ticked up to 85 backers. Hey!
Yeah.
just during, I'm going to take credit for that.
Absolutely.
It happened during the show. I'm taking credit for that. 62 hours to go. Mike, I appreciate you hanging out with me, spending some time talking FSK, talking positivity in comics, and just being a super rad dude. Hang out after I hit the red button. I got some logistical stuff for you, but that's going to be it for this episode. We made it. Live stream number 1 of 2 for me in one night, because I'm insane, is in the books. This was a blast. I appreciate you hanging out. Super glad that we met at Middletown, and I look forward to being in contact with you more often in the future. So all of that to say, what's a good podcast without a good tagline? This is mine. Go do what's good for you, punks, and read some indie comics. Maybe, I don't know, like Vigilance Volume 1 live on Kickstarter for 62 more hours. We are out of here. Thanks for hanging out and tuning in. Talk to you next time.
All righty. Thank you.